What's up YouTube, Conzilla here. This is day 18 of my 31 Days of Horror, where I am reviewing a different horror movie for every day of the month of October. Tonight's film was the 2007 adaptation of The Mist. This was directed by Frank Darabont, who's known for his involvement with The Walking Dead, among other things, and is an adaptation of the Stephen King novel of the same name. Yeah, this is a pretty good film, kind of a Lovecraftian sort of a horror story, very bleak. Basically, the film opens up centering on a family. There's this guy, David, who's an artist. And anyways, right at the beginning of the film, there's a big storm. A tree falls over on his house, and another one falls over on another part of his property. So there's quite a bit of damage from this storm. The next day, this guy and his neighbor, who he had a dispute with, that's never gone too deep into, but they need to go to town. The one guy's car was destroyed, so he hitches a ride with them. They're headed to the grocery store to grab some supplies due to the power outages and all of that from the storm. Anyways, while they're driving to the grocery store, they start to notice a bunch of military vehicles driving around, which sort of is a little bit of an indication of where this story's headed. And then once they get to the grocery store, basically the town starts to become covered in a strange mist. And a guy comes running in saying that somebody got taken away by something in this mist. And so everybody in the store starts freaking out, trying to figure out what's going on. Power goes out at one point, so they head into the back to mess with the generator. And they need to go outside to do something, so they're going to send one of this bag boy out to do it. And so they open up sort of the loading bay doors, and as he's standing there looking out into the mist, these giant tentacles come up and grab him, and he's pretty brutally murdered and pulled out into the mist. And so they close the door, realize that their situation is a lot more dire than it first seemed, because it's clear that there's giant creatures that are out hiding in this mysterious mist that's covering everything. So anyways, we're in the store. It's sort of a claustrophobic situation. Everybody's trapped inside. Order is sort of breaking down. The group is freaking out. And there's this religious, nutty character, this woman who's super annoying, going on about how, the gods or God is smiting them for their wickedness, basically. So she becomes sort of a central character in the story. Later on, some people decide to leave. They have one dude who ties a rope to himself and is going to go try and get a gun out of one of the cars. And he doesn't make it too far before they realize something's pulling on the rope. They're trying to pull him back. And what they get back is the lower half of his body, totally severed, still attached to the rope. And so they realize, something really big is eating people. Still really don't know what. Later at night, they've sort of done their best to board up the front windows of the store. They start to notice these giant insect-like creatures on the glass of the store, which seems to be attracted to their lights. And then there's almost pterodactyl-like creatures preying on them. And they break into the building, do some damage. They have a sort of a torch-type improvised situation that they're trying to use on these creatures, but one dude winds up totally lighting himself on fire. He's totally burning up. And, another chick gets stung by one of the insects, and her neck freaking swells up. And she's gone in minutes. Some dude gets eaten by one of the pterodactyl things, so it's a pretty nuts scene right there. They're able to sort of repel the invaders for a little bit. They know that the guy who got burnt really needs medicine, so they're going to go to the pharmacy next door. And once they get there, things go really crazy, because there are these spider-type creatures, and they've put their webs up all over the place, and there's a bunch of people in the pharmacy who have been tied up in the webs, basically. And the one dude's trying to say he's a military cop guy, and he's saying, we did this, like this is our fault basically, and then like he explodes with like baby spiders coming out of him, and then the full size adult spiders are attacking people, trying to string them all up. They have like corrosive webbing that just like slices through this one guy's like leg. It's pretty nuts. A few of them manage to escape that scene though and get back to the store, where the crazy religious nut basically has been sort of herding up a cult. She's got followers now because she's made some accurate biblical type predictions about this situation. So some people believe that she's got a direct link with God or whatever. She's their only beacon of hope in this situation. And so back at the store, they wind up basically sacrificing the last military guy. The other two military guys who were in the store killed themselves because they knew that basically the military was involved. And the other guy, he just reveals, the scientists were doing some sort of experiment on opening doors to other dimensions, and obviously they let a bunch of stuff from another dimension into this one. That's where the mist came from. And all the creatures. So that's, about the extent of the explanation that we get. And then they, the like butcher dude or whatever stabs this dude, and then they throw him outside, and he gets eaten by one of the giant beasts. So now the main character and a few of the other people who are not falling for the crazy lady's story here, they decide they're going to leave in the morning. They're going to get in his car and sneak out of there. The cult or whatever tries to stop them, and then one of the store clerks who's with them, who has the gun, shoots her in the stomach and in the head. Pretty epic, because she was super annoying throughout the film, so it's like she finally gets what she had coming. And then they're able to make their escape to the car, and they actually are able to drive out of there. The guy goes back to his house to see if his wife is okay, but of course she's been, all webbed up, she's a goner. And so they just drive until they run out of gas. And there's 5 of them in the car at this point, including the guy's son. And they run out of gas, and he realizes, they really only have one option here, because they're definitely going to be killed by all these giant crazy monsters. And so he looks and counts the bullets, and they've got 4 bullets. And so he puts down the 4 other people who are in the car with him, and then gets out and says, all right, come on, like, take me, crazy monsters from another dimension. And then I don't know if I've given a spoilers alert yet, but I'm about to spoil the ending here if you don't want to have it spoiled. Basically, very bleak ending. He gets out of the car, waits for the monsters to come get him, and then what he sees coming out of the mist is a tank and military guys and survivors in the backs of military vehicles. And the mist is beginning to clear and the sunlight is coming out, and he realizes that the military is prevailing against all these creatures. And it seems the situation is now pretty much under control. And he just killed his son and all the other people. And that is the end of The Mist. A super nihilistic ending. Really love that. I love when horror movies just say no to the happy ending. And just do it as brutal and bleak and nihilistic as possible. So major props to this film for that. Yeah, I thought this was a pretty good movie. I like how dark it was. I like the claustrophobic setting. I think that works really well for horror films when you're confined in a really small space with different people who are, suddenly thrown into a crazy survival situation. Especially something like this that's, really just totally bleak, no options. Great way to sort of create tension. And the inclusion of the sort of Jim Jones lady who's, seized upon the opportunity to build up her own cult during this crazy situation. I thought that was a really interesting story angle. And yeah, the film, really doesn't give you much to go off of as the audience. It leaves it all pretty, leaves you in the dark, which I think is good for this kind of a film. There's no extraneous explanation of what's going on. We get a basic idea, but they don't go into anything too in depth. It's very mysterious, and I think that works really well in this film's favor. As far as the special effects for this film go, I thought they were pretty alright. They were pretty sparing in their use of showing the monsters for the most part. They used the mist obviously to obscure it. It was a 2007 film, so the CGI, it holds up alright today. It definitely isn't like photorealistic. I mean, you're watching CGI, but it's not bad and it's not overdone. I do tend to prefer practical effects, but for all the different types of creatures in this and the time frame and all that, obviously it's going to be a CG film. But it's not terrible. It looks fine, and it's held up pretty decently. Yeah, all the performances in this were pretty good. One interesting thing to note was that, like I said, this is directed by Frank Darabont, who was involved in the early days of The Walking Dead. And if you're a fan of that show, you'll notice that there are 3 actors who are from the show who appear in this, which is pretty interesting to see. You have the actress who plays Carol, the guy who played Dale, and the chick who played Andrea. And so it's pretty interesting to see the 3 of them interacting as different characters, especially Dale. He looks pretty different here because he doesn't have the beard. He just looks slightly different. So yeah, that was pretty interesting. A little tidbit there. Obviously they would work together a lot in the future, so hopefully they get along. Yeah, all in all, I think this was a pretty solid film. Really bleak, dark tone, good story, good acting. Yeah, it's well crafted film. If you've seen this film, go ahead and let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to know what you think about this movie. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and leave a like. If you want to see more content like this in the future, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Like I said, I'm going to be doing a review for every day of the rest of the month. I still have a few good horror films left on my list, and so you'll definitely want to check those out. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and I will catch you next time.